Right. So I've literally now I have a blank line folder here, and I don't know if you can see. Am I sharing? Yeah, you can.
We can see the folder.
The folder.
Yeah, we can see the folder.
Okay, brilliant. So this is the course data pack we distributed to you, and it has stuff for Crawton, general stuff, scales and pins and St. Cyrus. So again, it's up to you how you organize your data, but that would be a typical case. So the first thing I would do though, so I've got that. First thing I would do would be to basically go File, Import 3D Model. Sorry, Import from Cloud Source, and up comes, I have an option here of Safari, which shouldn't be available to you guys, or V3Geo. So I just click on V3Geo. Now I have a list of all the models. That model, 207 models. I can filter that. So I want extrusive igneous rocks. And I will have already looked at V3Geo to know which ones I want, because I can't preview them here. But I know I want Crawton Bay and I want St. Cyrus. So I just click on those two and I click Import. That will now load those models from the web. And as you can see, because it's not loading all the data, it's relatively quick to bring down the basic frame. So just while it's loading those, so now it's just loading those models. So now it shows me I've got Crawton, and I've also got St. Cyrus. If I double click on St. Cyrus there, but they're just floating in space. They are in their real world coordinates. That's actually where they exist in the real world. So I also, you can go window. This is a personal preference. Set, if you go set background color, I don't like the black. I actually use a sky blue because it makes it look a bit more like sky. Yeah, you can set whatever color you want there. That looks a bit harsh maybe at the moment. Just set it to a nice neutral gray. So then the next thing I need to do, I want to provide some context for this. So I might have a regional DEM model, which I also want to pull in. If I don't have a DEM model, and the reason we don't always use them is because they are often really big, then you can get by quite adequately, as you saw, with a satellite image. So I go to panels now, create new panel, and I basically say I want to create that panel from an image file. In an ideal world, I will have a georeferenced image and I won't have to mess around with it. But I'm going to click on an image file. And then I just browse to that file. And I think I'm just going to use this one just because I know how I can do it quickly. And now I just randomly click a point in the model. Now that's brought in the satellite image. Now, obviously, that satellite image is not in any way where we want it to be. So the first thing I will do is if I click on, so then basically I know that this satellite image, because I've got it, I made a record of it when I recorded it, is 15286 wide, and I've locked the aspect ratio so I don't need to worry about the height. Now that's kind of made it the right size. Now I just want to rotate it, and so if I then click on, if I click down here, I can rotate it to view. So that's brought it to the right view. And now all I have to do is basically maneuver it to line it up with the outcrops. So you can see St. Cyrus, and I know St. Cyrus is down there. And then I might have to zoom in a little bit just to. Now this is a bit of trial and error, and as I say, the ideal scenario is you have geolocated geotiffs. But if you don't, you just faff around with this, maybe stretching it, rotating it, doing whatever you want to do to basically get it until it matches with your satellite. Matches with the location of your outcrops. Now again, because it's a flat plane, it's never going to be exact. But let's just say for the purposes, and then I'm going to give that a name, regional satellite image. Click OK. So now, now I have basically, and I can go in and move it if I'm not happy with it. But that gives me the context now of the kind of coast of northeast Scotland with St. Cyrus, and then with Crawton at the top. And because I've got the scale right and things, Crawton should pretty much be in the right location. It's not quite in the right location. Actually, you can see Crawton is there. So I might want to sort of just move that panel. So if I go into panels, regional satellite image, I can either do it by edit panel or modify location. And I can sort of move that to get it lined up there. And that means I probably didn't get the scale quite right. I won't sort of focus too much on that now. It is a little bit of a faff getting it right. Georeferenced images are vastly preferable, but what we're trying to show is if you don't have access to that kind of information, you can still do what you need to do. So let's go back down to St. Cyrus, because that's kind of approximately in the right position. So there's St. Cyrus. Let's actually just. There's St. Cyrus. And you know, what we often find as well is if it's getting too busy with a satellite image, or if it's interfering or whatever, you know, you can use it in an early view that shows, you know, use it in an early view that sort of shows the regional context, and then when you zoom in, just turn it off, get rid of it. But it is nice to have some kind of context rather than just having these things floating in space. So there's St. Cyrus. I've got it kind of approximately, you know, I've got it approximately in the right place. You know, as I say, it provides a nice regional context. I can turn it off when I'm in there. Now I'm at St. Cyrus. I want to add information to this. Now, if I just want to draw some lines on the outcrop, I click Create Polyline. So that was, hang on, let's do that again. Create new line in Polyline, and I literally then just click Shift, and I just click points like that. I don't really know what I'm clicking on here, but anyway, and I just create, I give it a name, random line, and then that's there. Now that will now come up, and I can toggle that on and off any time. So that's lines. If I want to create points, I go create new point. So let's say I want to sort of add in a photo or a video or a 360 or whatever down here by these lavas down in here. You know, so I find the point I want to put it. Right click points, create new point. Now I get to give it a name. I also get to give it an icon. So these are the standard icons. So audio, video, a document, a picture. Let's say it's going to be a picture. So I click that there, and now I browse to my data pack for the appropriate photo. Malcolm will be dying when I pick that photo, but anyway, let's just say that, and then I just click Create. I forgot to give it a name, so I can just left click on there, and I can call it, you know, photo number 1. And now the other thing is sometimes, you know, from that particular view, I can't see the icon too well. So I click modify location, and I get a little triaxial dragger, just pull it out slightly so that when I look at it from this viewpoint, you know, I get the icon. And now I just click on Alt, and that photo pops up there, and I can expand it to look at it or whatever. I could also, if I create another point, create new point in points, I can create, this time I want to create a 360, one of the 360s. Now I don't have an icon for that, so I go to add custom icon. And you can make your own icons, they're just image files. So scales and pins, there's my extra line pins, a 360 photograph. So I click that, so that's now going to be a 360 photograph when I place it. Now in the browse, now I'm going to where do we put that links?
It's in St. Cyrus.
Oh, St. Cyrus. Okay, thanks. Yeah. So Jess handily found some nice 360 photos for me, and she just put them into a Word file. So that's just a link to a 360 photograph in Google. So I'm just going to copy that link into where it says the file link, and I'm going to call it 360 number 1 or something like that, just so I remember what it is. Whoops, 360. And then basically to finally create it, I just shift and place it. So now I have placed that. Oops, sorry, that's annoying. Forgot to. All right, new points. Do it again. Add custom point. 360. File link. Yeah. And then create it. Shift drop. Create. Now, if I out-click on that, it pops open a window, which I can expand with that's just a link. So that could be a link to Vimeo or YouTube. It could be a link to Sketchfab if you wanted to put a 3D model, a little hand specimen model in there. It could be a street view. It could be a gigapan. It can be anything. But basically, that's I just do that. And then to close it again, I just click on the corner there. So basically, those are points. That's how I create points. If I want to start sort of add my logs in or whatever, again, it's panels. So just like we did with the that tricky log comes from down here, I think it is. Yeah. So basically, I'm going to go into my panels again. I've already got my regional satellite image in there, but I go panels, create new panel. Whoops, sorry, that was points. Panels, create new panels. I'm going to do it again from an image file. And I browse now into my data pack, and I find St. Cyrus, and I find the log there. I click open. And again, I just place it randomly somewhere near where I ultimately want it to be. Then it's way too big. That's 30 meters high. Now I know, as I said, this log is only that's 5 meters on the log, so that image is about 6 meters. So I'll just, as a starting point, I will just change the height to 6. Now it's rescaled it. I think that's actually in the wrong place for this one, but anyway, yeah, it is. It should be further along, but it doesn't matter. So now I've placed that. I've rescaled it to the right size. And again, I can kind of move it around with the draggers. I can rotate it if the beds are dipping and things like that. And ultimately, once I've got it in a position I'm happy with, I just click OK. And I need to give it a name, log number 1. Click OK. Now that's placed log number 1 in there.
John, we have a quick question. It was just Kathy's asking if why we're not putting spaces in the names of the photos and so on, and we're using kind of like a dash or something.
That's
I just wanted to say,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yes, you answer.
No, I was just going to say, from my experience, I have used spaces and it's not been a problem. But I know, John, you don't always like using spaces.
No, back in the old version of Lime, you weren't able to use spaces back when we first built it. So I am just in the habit of not doing it. So, and as far as I'm aware, there is no problem with putting spaces in. I've just out of habit don't do it. And also, because we're kind of developing new versions of Lime. Certainly, not that long ago, it used to crash some of the newer versions of Lime. They're in the beta testing, so I'm just in the habit of not doing it. But there is no reason why you can't have a space in there at all. So yeah, that's good to clarify that. Thank you. The other thing you could do with a log, but again, is you can drape that log onto that outcrop. And again, this log's not in the, well, actually, it's not the right place. So let's move the log now. So again, if I want to modify the location, what I can do is I could drag it all the way over to the right place, which is somewhere, yeah, it's over here. But what I could also do is I can just go to the place I want it to be. Can take myself over to the place I want it to be, and then if I shift and click, it will move that thing to that location there, and then I can move it around until it's exactly how I want it to be, like that. And in this case, because the beds are dipping, I might decide actually I want to put the log at a slight slant there, and it needs to be a little bit higher. If I want to drape that log, and then I just click OK, and that's that log there. If I want to drape that log now over this outcrop, and this is often, you get distortion because the outcrop's often not flat. But basically what I would do is I would actually, first of all, I'd just click on the modify location thing. In fact, actually, I'll click on the edit panel one. And I would push that back and forth into the outcrop, and I would say, okay, well that orange at the top is a little bit lower than I want it to be, that lava there, so I'm just going to move that up. And okay, there, that looks good now. And actually, you know, maybe the log's not completely matched, so I might actually decide I want to make it a little bit bigger so that bed there corresponds with that. I kind of fiddle around until I have it how I want it, and then I find this model. So that in this case, the model is made up of a bunch of chunks, which I think I happen to know is number 5, but the easiest way to find which one it is just to turn them on and off. So you know, now I know this is model chunk 5. So I go right click on there, add overlay texture. Now I could bring in an image and just drape it on, but I'm doing it from a project. I give it a name, log, and I'm going to take it from log number 1, and I'm going to use the layer in there because any object can have multiple layers in it. And I just click OK. Now when I turn off the panel, you'll see that it's been draped onto the outcrop, for better or for worse. And again, I could do this with text. I could do it with a drawn interpretation. I could overlay synthetic seismics, well logs, anything you want. Again, it's all down to your imagination. And to control how I see this, I just go to that model. It was number 5, was it? Number 5? Yeah. I go in there and I go to the display settings, and now you'll see that I have the original texture of the model, which I could turn off if I want, but I also have the layer I put on, which I can sort of either turn it off or I can set the transparency. So I set that to 50% transparent, or 30%, 40% transparency, so I can see the log, can also see what's behind it. And that then sort of brings us nicely into, you know, that's in there, that's sort of stored in there or whatever. I've still got the original log. Then the final thing, I know we're just running short of time, we've only got 5 minutes left. The only final thing to show you then is the customized views. So
there's one quick question that's asking that they can't see your 360 photos, and that is because you have to press the Alt key. If you are clicking on your 360 photos, your videos, whatever point you're opening, you will need to click Alt.
Yeah, hopefully that's answered that question. So then finally, finally, let's go out and, you know, here's my first scene I want to start with. So it's good to turn things off, to remember. It's easy to forget to turn things off when you make scenes. I don't need all of that. All I need is actually the regional satellite image for this first scene. And, you know, maybe I've also, let's very quickly add a panel, create new panel from an image file with a title. Do we have a title? Well, so let's just use that as a title, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to just place that there. So that's actually some instructions, but it could easily be a title. I'm going to adjust it how I want it to be, just moving it around with those draggers. So, you know, my opening scene will be, you know, this is Northeast Scotland. Here's some text. So that's the, click OK. So I've now created that. I would adjust it to make it look nice. And then I just go to custom view, append new from current, give it a view title. Okay, so now when I open that, there is that exists as title. Now if I go down and if I go down to St. Cyrus, I can turn that, I don't need that panel on anymore. So I can turn that one off. Go down to St. Cyrus. You know, and I want to introduce St. Cyrus, so I want a nice view of that virtual outcrop. You know, I find a view that I think is good, that's going to work. Custom view, append new from current. And that's St. Cyrus. Intro. And then I kind of zoom in, and I want to show them. That log. Maybe I want to show them the log first of all, just as a panel. So where are we? So it's in my panels, log number 1. Double click will take me to it. So I want to show that, you know, I want that to be my next view. So I'll turn off the transparency setting for that. Display settings, make the tricky log 100% transparent on there. So now so that I create that as a view, or I might actually even turn the log off. Say, right, here we are at this outcrop, you know, have a look at this, and then I want to reveal, so I add that as a view. And then I turn the log on, so that's like location 1, append new, location 1 plus log. Yeah. And then I might also want to turn off the panel and actually just show the log draped. So then I go so I just set that up. Display settings, tricky log, location 1 there. Now I have that overlaid on there. And then I just make a new view there. Call it location 1 log draped maybe, or something like that. Okay. So what we'll see then, and then let's just put a point in. Let's go to that 360 point that we created. Turn those on. Turn both those points on. So yeah, this would be like, you know, location 2. So I'll just save that now as, you know, a menu from current, location 2, with those logs turned on. And now basically we've just created in literally 5 minutes, you know, or a little bit longer than that maybe, a virtual field trips. If I double click on that, it will take me to that view. Now, if I double click on Synsiris intro, it will jump to that view. A little trick before the kind of viewer, the full viewer is available. If you click on the next one, and you can animate view, and that's what I use when I want to sort of, it will fly there. And then I go to the next one, animate view, and it will take us in there. And at any point, see, it's got rid of that log now. And at any point, I am free to move. The students or whatever are free to move around. They could make a measurement using the measuring tool. How thick is that bed? Okay, that's fine. That is 2.9 meters vertically and 3 meters long, and so on. They could measure a dip and strike. So the tool, the 3D element, create plane, or Control T. You know, click 3 points on there. 1, dip and strike of that grass slope. Make that 5 meter ellipse there. I've created a structural. Whoops. Get rid of the. And I can get, and I want it to be elliptical, you know. So I've got my structural measurement there, which I can get the readings off of and everything like that. But at any point when they want to come back to the trip, all they do is they just go, you know, they fly to the next locality. Now that next locality was this with the log. If I suddenly decided, if I was talking and teaching, especially, I wanted to go back, I can just go back to. I can go in any order. I can go back to that locality, you know, I can go back to that viewpoint and say, oh, as we were saying, there's all the beds are dipping to the left or whatever. And then I can just go back to that locality. It will take me in there, and everything that's open, everything I'd set is preserved. And then if I say, well, you know, how would that look if we draped, you know, if we drape that log? Whoops, no, I don't want to update it. I want to animate it. You know, that will then just sort of fly, and it will drape the log. And then I say, well, let's go to the next locality. It will fly me to the next locality. And now those photos and things are loaded. And at any point I want to see these, I just use the Alt click, which will then just bring up the web browser. And I can again say, well, you know, this was our 360 photo of Synsiris. And if I click on the next one now, it'll just sort of replace that with the photograph that was stored locally. So that is, and then finally, the only other thing I have to do now is I have to save my project. Where are we? Desktop, VMSG. So you know, call this day 2, for example, you know, Synsiris or whatever. I save that now, and it's good to keep saving as you're going, because just like any other software, it does crash from time to time. You know, then basically, then I go File, Export Project here, not Save, but Export, and it will give me this. I ignore that thing about the 3D models unless you've got local 3D models, but basically, and then I just browse to a folder, create a new folder. So I just create a new folder here. Day 2. I might have done that beforehand if I was organized, but basically I browse to that folder, then click export, and it's done it already. If I now go to that folder, you will see that in here, that's the day 2 we were just working on, and you can see it's a really small file. It's only 153K. But in that folder, which I would zip and send to the students, it has replicated that day 2. And in this SRC, there's nothing in the models because I'm using cloud models. But the data that we used and the extra pins, so the panels and the logs and the photos and things that we installed are actually there. So that becomes part of what you distribute. When you send that out to the students or the participants, that is what you're distributing. Okay? And that's pretty much bang on time. Sorry, I've taken 5 minutes of your time extra, but that's pretty much where I wanted to end. I'm happy to take any more questions or comments or anything like that. Otherwise, thank you very much for your attention.
Awesome. So there's 2 questions so far, John.
Yeah.
Adam's asking if points and lines, etc., can be turned on and off with varying scales, as is in GIS. Sorry.
So. Sorry, yes. So the points, you can't do very much with the points other than change the icon. You can toggle them on and off, and there's no, you just toggle them on and off with the middle mouse button or display. With the lines, you can go into the display settings and you can change the color, the width, and you can make it a dashed line and all. You have that sort of functionality. The other thing is you can export points and lines and import them into another project. If you want to take a bunch of interpretations into a new project, you can do that as well. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, but
yeah, I think that there's no automatic way, but I suppose as well that's why you make all this the storylines and so on, because that essentially sets it up for the student, like you were saying, John, isn't it?
Yes.
But there's no automatic as such. And then there's another question from Rochelle there, and it's just if the viewer students measure a plane in one view and then fly to another, does that delete the plane that they've just made, or can they save as their own?
No, progress? They save that. They save that. So this is something I would like to change about Lime. I'd like to make specific tools for measuring and specific tools for creating lines and planes. But at the moment, basically, we measure a plane, the dip and strike of a plane, by creating a plane, and then you can absolutely save that. You just give it a name and save it, and it will come up in the menu as planes, and you can see them all, and you can turn them on and off and all that sort of thing. But if you just want to sort of record the data, you just measure the 3 points and then press cancel. So hopefully that makes sense. There was a question there, but it disappeared.
Oh, sorry, I'm publishing them as they come in. Yeah, that's from Adam. He's asking if each object has fields for zoom visibility, then it could turn itself on and off as the user changes the scale. So they zoom in and out.
Yeah, again, that's definitely something that is kind of, I totally understand what you mean, and that would be very cool. That would be especially cool for this kind of idea where people are investigating virtual worlds and things on their own. But yeah, you can't do that at the moment, I'm afraid. But it's the sort of functionality. It's a really good suggestion, and it's the sort of functionality we'd definitely like to add. Just wait a minute or two just to see if there's anything else, but otherwise I think we've answered all the questions. Hopefully that was useful. If you have questions, feel free to contact us. And if you have models you want to share in V3Geo, definitely contact us. We'll be very happy to hear from you.
Well, just in case any more questions are coming in, I'd just like to say a big thank you to you, John and Jess, for putting this all together. The conference itself is starting at 1 o'clock, so hopefully we'll see you all there. And Jess is running a virtual field trip tomorrow. Jess, I think you're starting at 9:30, is that right?
At 9 o'clock it is, and we won't be using Lime for that directly, so you will be using V3Geo. I will be showing you Lime, so if you've had issues with Lime, don't worry, basically.
Fab. If anybody hasn't managed to register for the field trip tomorrow, if you email me, I will put my email in the chat right now. I should be able to get you an invitation to that if you need one. Otherwise, well, we'll hang on for a few more questions, and then I'll see the rest of you at 1. Thanks very much, John. That was great. Right.
Okay. One question from Kathy there. Can we have your contact details? I don't know if I can write in the chat actually. john.howell@abdn.ac.uk. I don't think there's a right in the chat, but or if you go to virtualoutcrop.com, that's us. Or if you go to V3Geo, you'll find our contact details there as well. Or I think Jess's details will be in the conference